Some very strange things happened in Iran last week. Mysterious explosions around the country. Boom, boom, boom. And one question is, has the war in Ukraine now spread to the Middle East? Now, early Sunday morning, the weapons production site in Iran, in Isfahan, was hit by at least one, some say 4 explosions in an attack by drones, cheap drones, to judge by the ones Iran found or intercepted. And same day, there was also a fire at an oil refinery, this one in Tabriz. And the next day, there was another explosion, this time at the headquarters of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Ma'bad. What was going on? Now, an advisor to Ukraine's president suggested that, some of this was to pay Iran back for sending its own drones to Russia to use to bomb Ukraine. He gloated explosive night in Iran. Drone and missile production, oil refineries, Ukraine did warn. And fingers are now pointing, though, at Israel, but it's saying nothing, whether it's responsible or not. Joining me to explain what is going on, I hope, and who is causing all this is General Jack Keane, who's a retired 4-star general, former Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army, now Chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General Keane, always great to see you. First, who is doing what to Iran and why?
Well, the likely culprit certainly is Israel, and they've had a history of doing this. I mean, in the United States media here, it's been widely leaked to prominent media from intelligence officials here, government officials that is, that Israel is behind this. And that certainly fits the pattern, Andrew, when Prime Minister Netanyahu was in charge before from 2009 to 21. He conducted, particularly in the latter years, a very aggressive espionage campaign inside of Iran. I believe the Mossad was doing so much of it so frequently that they had to be almost in residence. And we're talking about hits on nuclear facilities like Natanz, other factories, the military enterprise, the nuclear enterprise, assassination of scientists and military people involved in the nuclear enterprise. So this has been a pattern for some time now. So I don't doubt the fact that this is Israel.
Now, the question, though, is why? Now, we got that tweet from a presidential advisor to the Ukrainian president saying, yeah, we warned you, implying that this might have been a strike against a drones factory. Iran is sending drones to Russia to use against the Ukrainians. On the other hand, I'm reading in the Israeli press, now this was more about protecting Israel from Iran. What's your take?
I think it's mostly about protecting Israel from Iran. Isfahan is a hub for ballistic missile development, and particularly a medium-sized missile, the Shahab, which can range Israel. It reported that they were using small quadcopter drones to deliver a relatively small munition. And they may have been attempting to hit a munition plant, which would cause a relatively large secondary explosion and do more damage to the military complex that munition complex was in. So that's speculation, certainly. But nonetheless, I think this is all about protecting Israel and not going after the so-called drone factories that the Iranians are providing to the Ukrainians. It's also reported it may be in payback for what the Iranians were trying to do in killing some Israelis in Turkey last year. But nonetheless, the pattern is Israel, espionage operations conducted against Iran, certainly to protect Israel.
I should say, you mentioned a small explosion, hopefully the intention being to set off a big one. We didn't get that big explosion, I don't think. And Iran is in fact saying no big deal, at least for the Isfahan complex. Most of the drones, it claims, were intercepted. Only one caused minor damage to the roof, if in fact the roof that it showed is the roof involved. So we don't know. I guess the oil refinery fire, the explosion of the Revolutionary Guard headquarters, do you suspect some of those were Israeli attacks too?
Yeah, I would say that that's espionage also by the Israeli. It fits their pattern. I think we're going to find under Prime Minister Netanyahu has returned to power, that these attacks are going to step up. I mean, it's been reported in open press that if Iran wanted to break out just to develop the nuclear weapon itself, 4 months. If they wanted to put that weapon on a delivery system like a missile, where it would have to be miniaturized, 18 months. Nonetheless, Prime Minister Netanyahu has always maintained he will not permit Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And interesting enough, within the last week, the United States and Israel practiced air operations together, refueling jet aircraft and the like. And I think that was clearly sending a message to Iran that a potential military strike option is back on the table, given the nuclear deal has folded. And certainly they want the Iranians to clearly understand that the United States and Israel are working together.
Now, General Keane, I mentioned the war in Ukraine. We know that China is watching that very closely. We've talked about this before. If Russia beats Ukraine, if the West's will to keep helping Ukraine flags, they get tired or bored of it, I don't know. China will note that, and it will do, we know it already. It wants to do something similar and take over Taiwan, which is a democracy with the population of Australia. In fact, over there, your Air Force General Mike Minahan, who's head of the Air Mobility Command, he sent a memo to the airmen in his command warning of a war with China in just 2 years. Now, the Pentagon has downplayed that prediction, a war in our region in 2 years, but what do you think?
Well, my take on this is the general was talking, to his command. And when we're in peace, like the United States is relatively in peace, certainly, we're constantly talking to our troops about being prepared for war. We're conducting training to do that. I've done it many, many times, and I've told them we don't know when, but we got to be ready now. And preparing for war is the best way to prevent war. So I think that was largely his intent. It got leaked. Yes, he predicted in 25 that there would likely be conflict. Listen, no one knows what's inside President Xi's head, not the general, not myself, not the senior leaders in the United States government either. But when we look at it, I think what is really driving the general's comments, he just left the Indo-Pacific region where he was stationed there for a number of years as a senior flag officer. He knows full well, Andrew, that the United States military deterrent has eroded as a result of the 9/11 wars and the bankrupt budgets under the Obama administration. We're trying to recover from that, but we've got a long way to go, and we're vulnerable. He knows that. And what he's assuming is that's an incentive for President Xi to actually conduct military operations and go to conflict if he believes they have an advantage. And they do have an advantage. More ships, more planes, and more missiles than the United States has by far, to include our allies. So I think that was what this is about. We're vulnerable, and the possibility is certainly there, but we don't know for a fact when that's going to happen. What we got to do, Andrew, is fix the problem. Put more forces forward deployed in the region, and we're going to do that in Australia and other places, and also upgun Taiwan and give them the defenses they need, like we're doing now in Ukraine. We have to do it before to deter a conflict operation initiated by China dealing with Taiwan.
Well, all the more reason for me to be grateful, General Keane, that you've been appointed in a panel to actually run over, to check through the Biden administration's war planning, essentially. So that's good news. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.